Hey guys, it's Traffic Cones, and here at my garage. But now today we are having a sort of a science video. Essentially, I have my engine block, it has rust, and we are going to show you guys how to remove it. The process that I'll be using today is electrolysis. So what electrolysis is, it uses DC to create a chemical reaction to a non-conductive material, and essentially, long story short, it removes rust. So I'll be using electricity to go to an object, and it'll pull whatever rust from one item and put it onto the opposite item. The items I'll be using is I'll be using two pieces of rebar and a piece of wire. Those will connect together, and the other end would just be strict to the block. So essentially it just sends power, and also it sits in a bucket of water, which uses baking soda to activate it. So I will show you guys what I have in stock. Pretty much this is everything that you would need. So the baking soda is essentially the activator. It'll speed up the process of the rust transfer removal. The rust ends up going onto these two pieces of rebar. So in this process, you would have to keep pulling this off, like pulling this out the bucket. Said bucket that will be filled with water, and you would have to pull these out the bucket and scrape off the rust. To scrape off the rust, we have said wire wheel. So I have a bigger 4-inch wire wheel. It's already attached to the drill. Another thing that you'll be needing is a drill. But yeah, so the rust goes from, so essentially the reason I'm doing this is because, as you can see here, these are essentially coolant ports. So essentially, to keep this block of metal from overheating, because this motor revs to 7,000-8,000 RPMs, like these are revolutions per minute, this gets insanely hot. So coolant cools this down and keeps you at a certain operating temperature. For this Camaro build, I'll probably be operating at like 192 because I'm gonna adjust the thermostat, which allows coolant to flow more often in the motor. Essentially, I don't know how long this thing has been sitting there. This came from the junkyard. I am skipping the machine shop process. I'm not telling you to skip the machine shop process, but what you should do is take this block to a machine shop. They will hot tank it and do the entire process. I said scrap that, and I'm not doing that. So don't be like me. This may work, this may not work, but still, don't be like me. But what I'm doing is it will be extracting all the rust. So whatever rust is from the block, obviously I have a couple more screws to remove off of here, just like probably one or two, but it just remove all the block, like whatever corrodants and stuff like that that's in this. Because if you do not remove whatever corrosion or rust that's in the coolant jackets, coolant ports, it will get into your radiator, and essentially you will have overheating issues, because whatever sludge or crud or whatever is inside of here, any metal contaminants, stuff like that, because you don't know if this motor has been open, if it's been sealed the entire time, and that is the purpose of the electrolysis process. We will be removing all rust. And then obviously you got to spray it down, and etc. But this is just stage 2 of the block cleaning process, and I'll be using electrolysis. But yeah, we need to get everything off of the block and onto the rebar. I will be prepping everything today. It's kind of hard making a video for this because it's pretty much just a time lapse. I have a time lapse device, but I don't know if you guys want to see that. I'm gonna go show progress updates, but essentially you will know it's ready when it starts bubbling, and essentially you want to stir the water and stuff like that using like a painter stick or something that's non-conductive, because essentially, one thing I forgot to show was the battery charger. So essentially, I watched a YouTube video on this. I'll be putting it on 10 amps. 10 amps is pretty much all you need. Yeah, so you got 10 amps going to the object, and then I can or cannot be, wait, I said can or cannot. I may be wrong, but essentially the plus goes on what you want to put the rust to, and the minus is what you're trying to remove from. That's the easiest way I can put it. But yeah, so essentially I can get the scientific fact for you. Yeah, so essentially there's an anode and a cathode. One's a plus, one's a minus. And yeah, as mentioned, all the like lead particles or whatever, aka rust, that would go all to the positive side, and you'll be using the negative to remove whatever rust from the object that you're trying to do. So this does work on a smaller scale. Let's say you had a cast iron pan or something simple like a penny. Essentially you would just hook up the negative to what you're trying to remove and the positive to what you're trying to add it to. And essentially this will connect just like this, and then just sit in the bucket, and then this will be on the block. Hey guys, it's Traffic Cones, and we are back with another video. This is like the part 2 of the first video. I'm gonna attach both of them together. But today we are actually doing the engine electrolysis process. The engine block will be getting rust-free today and painted. Probably not in the same video, but I got everything that I need to get painted. I got everything that I need to get all the rust removed from this block. So I am ready. Like, this is gonna be a nice process. I got a not fire paint color. I can honestly show it right now. I am going with this color right here. So this is what color the engine block is going to be. Currently it is black. I'm not a big fan of that. So I'm going to primer the block after we clean it off. I'm gonna primer the block, blowtorch it, get all the grease and everything removed, wash it one more good time. I'll obviously wash it by hand. Now that I know the rust will be off of it, I have the piston cleaner, the ring gapping tool, like the ring filer. I forgot to buy a ring gapper tool. I'm gonna do that on the next go around of shopping. But we are virtually prepped to essentially start building a motor. So for my ring gapping, yeah, there's a couple things I need to order. But we're almost prepped. I currently have a few more things. I bought a cam bearing installer and I bought an engine lift plate. I'm gonna show you guys right. This is what I currently have. I currently have the lift plate on there. I bought a couple of trailer chains so I can hook up essentially the engine load leveler to the chain, and then you just hook it on the other end. Essentially, I watched a couple of videos on this. You would just slide the chain through here and it won't slide back. So plain and simple, which is exactly what I need. The cylinder heads, I still need to get the bolt extracted. I'm gonna go and just ask, hey, can I just get the bolt extracted and call it a day? They want me to do an entire valve job and stuff like that. I'm going to verify doing a leak test, but another thing I need is the air compressor. So, you know, it's slowly but surely, but starting to snowball and roll. Just everything that I want. The block will be built by the end of the month, and hopefully I can get started, like get it running February. And honestly, that'll make me happy. That's an aggressive deadline because I still gotta get cam bearings. I gotta get main bearings. I gotta make sure I gap the rings properly. I gotta get cam. I gotta get intake. I gotta get throttle body. I gotta get all them sensors. I gotta get the Holly. So next month is gonna be an aggressive push. We will see. Same, I gotta get the rear diff. I gotta get the fuel pump. So like, there's a lot more things left, but I'm excited. I want to get this done before, like, cause I used to be in college. So like, I'd want to be done by the end of this semester done. So that's an aggressive deadline and I'm really pushing for it. So it's big, and I still got trips planned. I still got a partner. So like, I'm excited, but like, hey, we are pushing. But I'm proceed with the engine electrolysis process. Oop. So what I'm doing right now is I will be removing these bolts, and then essentially, as I mentioned before, the negative goes onto the block and the positive goes onto what the rest will be going to. This is a 14 gauge wire, which is good enough for 15 current since I'll be outputting 10 current from the battery charger. Yeah, so I have more than enough wire safety. If it was anything smaller than that, I'd be a little bit concerned, but I think we're good. So let me just proceed. I'm gonna see if I can prop you guys up, do a quick little time lapse of just me removing the All right, so we just got the engine plate off. Now we are going to fill this big old tank full of water and get this process going. Essentially, there's like a ratio that you want to add for baking soda per gallons of water. I think it's like every few gallons you add a cup of baking soda. I'm going to just guesstimate and figure it out. But essentially the baking soda just speeds up the reaction. And that's pretty much it. It speeds up the reaction where it breaks down the rust faster, especially with the 10 amp current. It'll break down the rust and send negative charge to the block and push the positive charge, aka the rust, to the rebar. So let's get that going. All right, currently this is where we are. So if you see, this is the block, this is water. We are right at the top. What I'm going to do now is essentially this part. So from here, we take the battery charger, find a good spot away from the water. Just charge it. Gonna plug that last. We come from here. Split the battery charger. I do the same way I do my batteries. Put the negative in first. Negative is now on the block. And we now have the positive there. I am extremely nervous. I'm extremely nervous. I gotta find the extension cord. So, one, you wanna do this in a very ventilated area. That's why it is in the garage with the garage door open. I'm not gonna leave it open all day due to, I don't know what smell this is gonna produce. And another thing, I am going to use this fan. Sorry, there's a lot going on. So essentially, this is my shot. I'm gonna have the fan push the air out, whatever air comes from it. And we are going to connect this. Make sure the fan works. All right. Okay. So now we plug in the power. So I'm extremely nervous. All right, now that this is on, essentially you want this to be standard battery, charge mode, and 10 amps charging fast. Is there something I forgot to do with this? No. Connect each clamp to its polarity, then firm reverse polarity indicators off. Then plug in, select charging mode and battery type. Monitor progress indicators. I'm not getting nothing. Did I get a dud? Dude, did I get a dud? Well, we are experiencing technical difficulties. I am going to see what's going on. All right, so this is where I'm at right now. I think I'm missing something because like it's connected the way it's supposed to be, but it's not reading anything. But it says clamps unpowered until connected to battery. So what I may end up going to do is buying a cheap battery from Walmart or just Home Depot and seeing. because that can probably be the reason why. I've seen somewhere where they needed to use a battery as something in the middle, and then from the battery they'd connect to the block. So that might be what I need to do. I have to verify if I have jumper cables to connect from there to there, but I think so. I gotta verify. All right, so this thing does work. So what we did was, essentially we had to go and buy a battery, connect the red to the positive, connect the red to the positive, black to the negative, and voila, it turns on. So now we just need a jumper from there to the block, and that's what we will figure out how to do right now. Okay, now this is the moment of truth. I have the minus to the minus, the plus to the plus. I'm using a lawnmower battery. All right, let's see. I pray this works. Now we will turn it on to standard, and it is working. And boys, we are cooking. So from here, I'm gonna give it some time. Okay, we're starting to see the reaction. The water is bubbling. And it is foaming up. Hold on. Let me see if I can put it in. Like, you really have to sit there and pay attention to it. It is bubbling, boy. It's bubbling. So essentially, whatever is on this side, it will pull to this side. Let me add some more baking soda. We ain't got much. Yeah, that's all I got. Honestly, I think I got skimmed on this. But what I am gonna do, I might head back out and grab some more baking soda. And toss it in there. And essentially, to stir it, you wanna have something that's non-conductive. Okay, I'm gonna use this. Give it a quick stir. Yeah, that's not enough baking soda in my opinion. Yeah, that's not enough baking soda, but it should still work. I'm gonna go grab some baking soda and BRB. But it's working. Honestly, it's only been like a few minutes, and like, look at what's going on right now. Like, jeez, it's literally only a few minutes. I was considering going to go get some more baking soda, but by the looks of it, I don't think I need to. Like, I may have too much, to tell you the truth, because like the reaction is happening super fast. But I wanted to take a look at, you know, just to make sure that the current is going from point A to point B. Like, make sure this works properly, and it does. This is 14 gauge wire, which is good enough for 15 currents. I'm only pushing 10, so I still have room for availability. But if I want to speed up the process, essentially what you would want to do is, I mean, this is just a mathematical point. I'm not going to give whether you should or shouldn't, but essentially you would just double up the wires. So essentially you just grab another piece of 14 gauge, strip both ends, and if you wrap it around, essentially it just doubles. In theory, it just doubles the amperage. That's as simple it is. Like, you were able to flow more current through it. So now that 15 would be able to go up to like 20. I mean, 15 to 30. That's theoretically how it works. But obviously, you'd want to do like a voltage calculation. I'm not going to do it right now, but 14 gauge works, 10 currents, 15 amp max, and we are having a reaction. All right, so here's the thing. It is starting the reaction. I closed the garage a bit, so the lighting sucks a bit, but it is causing a reaction. You can see it going to the sacrificial metal, and boom, we are cleaning our rust from the block. I'm gonna come back in an hour and give another update. I would do a time lapse, but like, yeah, I don't know how that's gonna work, because it'll just be sitting here with not good lighting. So, update in an hour. And then make sure you have a ventilated area. Fan blowing out. Make sure you have something like that. Okay, so it's been 30 minutes. I'm coming back now and look at what we have. I'm assuming there must be a lot of rust on here. So what I'm going to do is disconnect the battery charger. Actually, I can just turn it off from here. So I just turned it off, and I'm going to I just turned it off, and I'm going to clean these off. So essentially, I'm just going to grab the drill. I already have the attachment. And then all you do is remove this and scrape whatever rust is on the rebar. And honestly, you want to be extremely careful doing this because the 2 rebars fell and melted the wire because essentially these 2 came in contact. What happened was rebar hit the block, boom. That's just sending current from one thing to another, and that's basically setting the sparks to go off. The block should be fine, but be careful. But what I am gonna do right now is just lift the block out, put some fresh new water in there. It's only been 40-ish minutes. I got some more wire, so process is still gonna work, but be careful doing this, please. So this is what the block looks like now. This is only after 40 minutes precisely. If you look at the cooling jackets, they're much better than what they used to be. I'm gonna do this a few more times, so it may take me a few more days, but yeah, I had to pull it out not only to, not only to like put new fresh water in there, but I went into also, I gotta redo the electrical system. It works, but it's not the safest. I'm not too confident, especially after the fire mishap right here. Essentially, I was trying to get everything back together, and essentially, it's like putting 2 jumper cables together. The air is gonna spark. So essentially, the rebar touched the block, and none of those are gonna burn, so it's gonna go to the next best thing, which is the cable. What I want to do, see, this is burnt, very burnt. What I was planning on doing was just taking the tips off. What I was gonna do is like take the tips off of these and then try to re-crimp it on with new cable. I might try it. I'm gonna try it honestly. But then, yeah, I'm gonna try it. I'm gonna just give it a shot, and then I have to put new water in there. So bear with me, and we will give you an update soon. All right, so we definitely changed the strategy up a lot. We did a couple of upgrades. So before we had this. So what happened was this wasn't secure. This hit the block. This was still connected to the battery. Thank God it wasn't connected to the battery charger. Essentially, it like current goes to, essentially it's gonna go to the least strongest thing. It had a block and rebar. If those don't, they're gonna find the next weakest point. Next weakest point was this. One thing that I strongly recommend is security. Like this is literally clamped from the box to this. This is super clamped. So that's essentially what you don't want. And now I have it further back. So before I didn't, I had like a lot, this was closer to this side, but now it's a lot further back and we have a lot stronger booster. So this process should work a lot better. This is 8 gauge wire now, which is more than enough to run at the fast setting. But as I mentioned, the current is gonna find the weakest point, and this is the weakest point. This can only handle 15 amps of current, and I am not chancing that. So I gotta fix that connection. But I mean, it's pretty good, it'll work. But essentially we are going to keep it at 10. One thing I noticed when I was extracting this, the rust didn't go up far on this or this because there is 2. One thing that I am going to do is let this sit a lot longer. So instead of me coming back in an hour, I'm gonna check it on it like every 30 minutes or so, but I'm not gonna touch it for about like, probably for the rest of the day. It's probably like 3, 4 o'clock right now. I might come back at 9 and then remove it. And then obviously spray the block down with the rest of the water that I got, spray some WD-40 and let the block sit there until it dries out. I'm gonna connect it to that engine thing in the back. And we are going to, what's it called? Get prepped for paint. So after it air dries, like I'm gonna air dry it, come back, WD-40 it, make sure it doesn't flash rust because that would defeat the entire purpose of this. So spray a whole bunch of WD-40 after I dry it. The walls, the cylinder walls, what's it called? They are going to get bored, but touching it right now, there is a lot of oil and a lot of grease on there. It probably would have been best to pressure wash it, but I don't have a pressure washer. So this is where we at. But yeah, so I'm gonna pour some laundry booster into it and show you the process after I get everything back hooked and connected. Is our new system. Battery charger, battery, bigger jumper cables, better connection, better support. I'm gonna sit here and watch it for a few minutes, make sure everything works fine, and it should. Everything should work fine. We have stronger booster, so hopefully everything works well. Hopefully everything works well. Yeah, you see, like, it's more foaming up on that side now. Everything, so essentially the current flow, negative extracting will go to the positive here. And eventually you have to keep checking this out. Rust, I'm gonna set a timer and show you guys the results. All right, so this is about 2 more hours later. As you can see, chemical reaction. But it's a lot less than what it was. I just flipped the ends. So it's not too much rust on here, but yeah, it is cleaning up very nice. Cleaning up very, very nice. So I'm gonna let that sit for about 2 more hours. Come clean the block, let it air dry, and then spray WD-40. And then from there, honestly, depending on how much it dries today, I might paint the block with primer and have it sit, and then come back probably Monday or whenever I get back and spray the block with the blue paint. So, voila. Where we are at after 4 hours, I'm about to pull the block out and take a look. Kind of nervous. Honestly, I don't know if the, what's it called, did as good as a job as the baking soda did. I'm happy I gave the other one a shot, but yeah, I don't think it did as good of a job, in my opinion. Let's look at the rust accumulated. Yeah, it didn't pick up any more rust, unless that means there's no more rust on the block itself, which that would be understandable. And the smell that I thought, like, there was a reaction, but it was not as much of a reaction as I thought. So what does that mean? Essentially, that just means, in my opinion, that there's probably just not that much rust to be taken account. But I am gonna do it one last time, not today though. I'm gonna pull the block out, let it air dry, get all the water out of it, and just assess it. So I have like 2 situations, good and bad. So it's breaking off the rust that's in the coolant jacket, right? So like, as I'm spraying it in, as I'm spraying this water in, it's knocking that out. So that's essentially all the stuff that could have been built up into my cooling system. Basically my my thermostat, not my thermostat, my radiator and etc. My other issue is, I think the quantity of baking soda that I'm using, washing soda, same thing, is off. Like I have a 40-gallon thing. I'm supposed to be putting 3 cups, but I'm probably only putting like maybe a quarter of a cup. So it's not causing the reaction that I needed to, like enough of the reaction, because it's breaking it down. I think I recorded, I gotta see my footage, but I think it's yeah, it's not enough, what's it called? It's just simply not enough washing soda in it to cause a reaction. So like, it's breaking it down, it's just not enough. So we are going to try again for the last time for the day. We put 4 more hours on this, come back at 12 and see the progress that we have made. So I had the jumper cables the last time you seen this. This time I did it a little bit different. I got the same wire that's connecting to both rebars to connect directly to the battery on both. And we are seeing this one. This time I'm seeing, it looks like it's more stronger. I said more stronger like it's a word. It looks like it's stronger, but I also did use a ton more laundry booster. This time I actually used the cover of this and poured like 5 cups of that. Essentially there's like a ratio that I was mentioning earlier, but I was just sprinkling it. But now I've sprayed, like I put in much more, and I'm looking at, if you see this, now it's really like turning like green. I don't know. This may be the best one. I can't tell. I'm gonna give it some time. I've been watching it for a little bit. I've been trying to work on other things also. I'm trying to see if I'd be able to reuse this throttle body. Not this throttle body specifically, but the motor. Since this is a GM motor, this is kind of what I'm hoping for. If I can, because like I want to put a 102 millimeter throttle body in here, right? But they sell the housing, like they sell this housing, the one that you see in my hand, the gray part. They sell like the housing with the blade. I was wondering if I'd just be able to remove this portion and install it on the 102, and that'll save me almost a full grand, because like the housing is like $400, but the 102 with the motor is legit like $800, 800 to 1,000. But the thing is like, okay, if I put that on there and it doesn't work, then I can just return the throttle body. But if it does work, then I save $400. So I'm gonna do some more research on this, see if I can even remove that and take that upstairs with this and some more things that I have in store, and just break it down and see. This is something from the junkyard, so if it breaks, I won't be mad, but if I can get it to work, that'd be great. Something that I see weird is that the flap won't close. It looks like it's still open, so like it still has play in it. I don't know if I can adjust that in the tune when I get this bad boy tuned, when it adjusts the throttle body. But as you can see, the blade does open about, I'd say like there we go. It looks like the blade does open all the way. So when you hear the motor working, I wonder if I put power to it, will it work? I hope it does, but then like I said, I would save a whole bunch of money. But if you look at it, essentially like this would cause an issue in the tune because it's not shut, it's already always open. That can be an issue, but I'd like to experiment. And that's what we're doing, experimenting. I've never done this before, to tell you the truth. I've never built the engine. I've never done an engine swap, but I pulled the motor before. That's step one. I disassembled the motor. I've cleaned pistons. I've installed this, you know, so I'm learning as I'm going. But we will be back in, honestly, like 4 hours. So we'll play with this upstairs. You guys will see this soon. The reaction looks like it may be working the best now. The next time I do this, I'm not gonna replace the water. I may or may not, it depends. But we will see. Make sure you have ventilation. This approach is gonna work so much better. Look at it. Look at this, boy. This approach, this new method works so much better. So you gotta use way more baking soda. And then I changed the way it's wired. Dude, I am cooking. I ain't never see it like this. Out of the whole time I was doing this. So, still have 2 hours left of this process, and this is what we're looking like. That is a lot. I am going to pull these out and take a look at what it looks like right now. Prop you guys up. But I'll know it's done when this section right here. So essentially there is a, what's it called? It's like right here. This section right here is still rusty, and that is surface rust. So if I still have surface rust, that technically means I still would have internal jacket cylinder wall rust, even despite all of this. Meaning, I mean, I'm just gonna let that sit longer anyways. It has 2 more hours, but it's bubbling, meaning it's working. Flow current from here, pushing all out here. This is the best I've ever seen it. I'm gonna keep going with this approach. I'm gonna do this maybe like 2-3 more times until this baking soda runs out. But yeah, lawnmower battery, boom, boom, boom. I can't believe this thing is actually working, to tell you the truth. But boom, you see the bubbling. So this is where we are for stage 1 of 3. This is gonna be a 3-part. So I'm gonna pull the block out, examine it, And since you get this on the stand, spray WD-40. That'll be all for today. I'm gonna let this process continue for many other days until this thing is pretty much rust free. Yeah. So I'm gonna pull it out and show you guys what it looks like. All right, this is where we are for stage 1. If you remember what it looked like initially to where we are now, I'd say it's a tad bit better. It's a tad bit better. The coolant jacket boards are still dirty, so we are still gonna battle it. But as I mentioned earlier, you can tell the difference by this. There is some difference, not a lot on that side. On this side, same goes for it, not a lot. Sometimes you damn near think that nothing happened, but there definitely was a change. This process is really, really slow, especially with just a rebar. If I had a bigger piece of sacrificial metal, I threw away the flywheel, so I cooked myself there. But we are gonna keep going. So that was just stage 1 that you've seen. I'm gonna keep going till I get the block prepped and ready. This will not stop until the rust is free or until I feel satisfied with what I have. And right now I'm not satisfied. I'd say I'm like 25% satisfied. We're gonna do this again. And yeah, so I'd say appreciate you guys for watching if you really came this far. This is electrolysis. My process didn't work today, but we will be back at it. There's a lot of learning. Our last method, the third method, worked better than any other. If we had that for the amount of time that it took us today, from start to finish, about 10 hours, I'm pretty sure I definitely would have seen the difference. But hey, you can't be mad at improvement and you can't be mad at, progress. So we will be back for another video. I'm gonna just show you guys the next process, the block later state, and that's pretty much it. But appreciate it. Traffic cones out.